we are going to begin with the collective occasion of the First Testament. Okay, collective occasion in the First Testament. Oh, do you remember? Collective occasion in the First Testament or in the Old Testament was given to the people of Israel. Okay, so the first topic in this chapter is the vocation of Israel. Okay, the vocation of Israel. So normally we don't study the vocation of Israel. We study the vocation of Moses. We know vocation of Jeremiah. We know the vocation of Samuel. But if you ask vocation of Israel, many of us, we may not know. But the collective vocation of Israel is so beautiful. It teaches a lot to our life. And that's why I want to begin the First Testament with vocation of Israel. Okay. And the vocation of Israel was carried out by the event of covenant. That's why Yahweh's covenant with the people of Israel. So it is through the covenant that God chose Israel as his own people. So the vocation of Israel concretely took place at the moment Yahweh established a covenant with the people of Israel. So we can say this is like their profession day. Okay. So we have our own professional ceremonies, no? So where somebody celebrated Mass and then you are all there beautifully like angels. And then you take one paper, you read, I promise to God, all that, no? That okay, what we call that vocational rite, that profession Mass. So that particular event in the people of Israel took place the moment Yahweh established covenant with the people of Israel. Okay. I will not explain more about covenant because you have already studied about covenantal spirituality. You remember for the Lawrence, he was explaining so emotionally about covenantal spirituality. Nearly 2 hours he was speaking about covenant. So those aspects of covenant, I will leave it because you have already studied. But I will pinpoint, highlight only those aspects which are essential for our vocation, to understand the vocation of Israel. So the historic pact of collective vocation took place at Mount Sinai, where Yahweh entered into covenant with the people of Israel. Okay, so the historic pact, that agreement, that collective vocation as a concrete event, historic event, took place at Mount Sinai through covenant. So one side Yahweh is there, so other side Moses is there, who represents the people of Israel. He is not there as an individual. He stands there as a representative of the people of Israel. And you remember, Father Lawrence was saying about the Hebrew term for covenant. Can anyone say? You can write in the chat. I will just check whether you have understood. See, Father Lawrence, when he was explaining about covenant, he used one Hebrew term, and he said the same term is also used for marriage agreement. For marriage, also the same term only, where the two becomes one, such an intimacy. No one has written in the chat, so I think no one remembers. Okay, all right. So I will wait for 2 more minutes. After that, I will tell you. Somebody has immediately written. Who is that lucky fellow? Okay, very good. Berit. And I have a feeling that this fellow has studied theology, I think, because he's a sacred heart to brother. So he has studied theology. So he's, okay, all right. Berit, okay, the term is used is berit. So it's an agreement which is equal. So congratulations, brother. Nicely written, correctly written. So this is like a marital agreement. where the two becomes one. So one side Yahweh, another side Moses, who represents the people of Israel. And the father was saying, oh, no blood is used, all that I am not explaining you, by which God chose the people of Israel as his own chosen race, as royal priesthood and holy nation. And I am going to read for you only what happened because of the call or because of the occasion which we have in Exodus. Okay, Exodus chapter 19, verse 5 onwards. I'll read for you. Now, therefore, if you obey my voice and keep my covenant, you shall be my treasured possession out of all the peoples. Very, very important. Okay. By covenant, if you obey all my words and if you keep my covenant, you will be my chosen race. What you will become? You will be my treasured possession, not simply possession, treasured possession. You belong to me. I called you by name. You are mine. You belong to me. You are so precious. That is what it means. You will become my treasured possession of all the people. So many people are there. Among all of them, you will be my treasured possession. Indeed, the whole earth is mine, but you shall be for me a priestly kingdom and a holy nation. Okay. So very, very important. So I'm just, the same thing, I'm just giving you the text, and these are the words you should never forget. Because of the covenant, because of the vocation that Israel received, Israel has become the treasured possession of Yahweh out of all people. So many people are there. Bahar, remember? Choice, selection. And among so many people, so many races, you are my only treasured possession. Priestly kingdom, holy nation. So these three never forget. So because of vocation, Israel has become the treasured possession. He has become a priestly kingdom, and they have also become the holy nation. Okay. We shall just explain only this term today because we don't have time for what does it mean? Because of vocation, Israel become a treasured possession of Yahweh. Later Isaiah will say, you are precious in my sight. The Lord will use this word, no? You are precious in my sight. I called you by name. You are mine. You belong to me. All that expressions are included in this phrase, treasured possession of Yahweh. What does it mean? Treasured possession of Yahweh. Treasured possession of Yahweh implies that they will enjoy a special providence of God. God will take care of them. That's what it means. You remember, you have your treasure. Let us say you have a diamond. Somebody gave you one diamond, a very, very precious diamond. What will you do with that diamond? You will keep it so precious, no? Now and then you will go and see how it is. You will take one paper and then you will have one cloth and you will now and then you will clean it, rub it, protect it safely. You will keep it so that nothing happens to it. It becomes so close to you, so precious to you. That is what it means. So that you have become a treasured possession means the people of Israel will enjoy special providence of God. God will provide. God will take care of them. Nothing they will lack. God will take care of means they will lack nothing. Whatever they want, God will give. manna, squirrel, water, cows, land, property, all that they want, they will give. God will give because they belong to God. They are treasured possession of Yahweh. In their life, they will lack nothing at all. And then God will also protect them, not only give them all they want, but He will also protect them, save them from all forms of evils and destruction. What is those evils? Those days, there were different types of evils were there. For example, God will save them from diseases, plagues, natural calamities, sickness, protect them from enemies, protect them from wild animals, and nothing will daunt them. God will take care of them. God will provide them all that they want, that they will lack nothing in their life. And He will also guide them, guard them, protect them, save them from all forms of evils, very especially from diseases, from sickness, from calamities, from natural calamities, from enemies, from wild animals. God will take care of them because they have become treasured possession of Yahweh. They have become the people of God, and God has become their Father. And so they will enjoy the paternal care of God, like a father taking care of his own children. God will take care of them, and they will enjoy the paternal care of God. And it also means that God has a special plan, a particular plan for the people of God. So, no more personal plans, no more personal dreams, no more personal projects. God's will and God's plan becomes their plans, becomes their dreams, becomes their project. And God and the people of Israel share a common project of God, a common plan of God. So God's project has become the project of the people of Israel, who are chosen in a very special way by God Himself. So the people of Israel have to be exclusively at the service of God for the realization of this plan of God. So a common project is there, and there every Israelite has to share, and he has to be there at the service of the realization of this plan of God, so that the common plan of God, the project of God, becomes a reality in their lives. And I have the reference from Psalms 105 and 106. Okay. The second consequence of having received this special call is that they have become now kingdom of priests. You are the chosen race, a treasured possession, a royal priesthood. And we know the priests were given new privileges, and the Israelites, because of their vocation, common vocation, they will also experience, they will also have all these new privileges. And we know the priests are supposed to be occupied in giving greater glory to God. And similarly, the Israelites, having become the royal priesthood, kingdom of priests, the life should be fully occupied in praising God, in giving greater glory to God. And they were also expected to take care of the purity of the cult of Yahweh. So in this background, it means taking care of the purity of the cult means they have to worship only Yahweh. They will have no other God except Yahweh. Yahweh is the only true God. And the whole life should be centered on this God, giving praise to Him, giving greater glory to Him. And He occupies the center of their lives. Thirdly, because of vocation, they have become a holy nation, a sacred nation, a special nation. So the Hebrew word holiness implies also separation, segregated. They are separated from other nations, means they are not to mix with other nations because they are consecrated. As they are consecrated, they have to be always at the disposition of Yahweh. And why they were told they were not to mix with other nations is because mixing with other nations could also induce them to adore their gods, to be influenced by the rituals and cultic practices of other nations which worship other gods. Now that Israel is consecrated, specially called by God, have become a treasured possession of Yahweh, they have to be totally at the disposition of God and not to be mixed with other cultic and ritual practices practiced by other nations. And interestingly, we said, because of vocation, they have received a lot of divine promises, become treasured possessions, kingdom of priests, royal priesthood, holy nations, and they received also a lot of rights. But at the same time, these rights are also accompanied by sanctions. So sanctions means punishment. So they are supposed to live as a holy nation, as priests, royal priesthood, holy nations. They have to be as people who are specially chosen, always at the service of God. But in case they don't live according to their call, if they don't live as a holy nation, as royal priesthood, then God will also punish them. God will also see to it that they are fittingly punished without any delay. So Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 7 to 11 speaks about the sanctions. So lead a life according to your vocation. If you don't lead a life according to your vocation, then you will also be punished.